How many lunches have you had? No, like total.
Like,
One, two,
since you've
three.
been here.
3 a week since I've gotten here. 4 a week. No, 3 a week. Because I don't do Tuesdays.
3.5 a week.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. Times, what, 5, 6? So 18.
That's so many.
How many of those are different restaurants?
All of them. I don't.
Really? You haven't repeated?
I've been to Babin's twice.
Ah, Babbitt.
That's the only one I've been to twice.
Yeah.
Babin's. I don't think I've ever been to Babin's.
Oh, glorious.
Moving it closer, sorry. Just some technical things.
Because, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Next Day podcast.
The next day on your discipleship journey. He pushes it closer. Your microphone was far away. I was helping you.
I know. It can only pick up so much. Well, I'm Chad.
I'm Christy.
And we're joined by...
Preston.
And...
Carl.
Yay!
Four pastors.
What?
In the room together.
I feel like this is the setup for some kind of joke.
Yeah, four
pastors on a
get on a
podcast.
podcast.
Wow, there's so many things we could say about that. My mind went to all the things we're not going to say on the church podcast.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
no,
not-
for
Like,
sure,
yeah,
for
that's
sure. How many pastors does it take to do a podcast?
Yeah. No, so Preston, you've been on one of these before, and Carl, you used to have the most listened to podcast before the bishop got on.
For 2 weeks.
Yeah, for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because Carl, you've completed a year at St. Peter's.
A whole year and 2 weeks.
What?
Wow, that's exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
You
okay.
survived.
This is huge.
I know. I don't know if you get like a special. What's the 1 year anniversary paper? You get. Here's some
Yeah.
index cards.
Yay.
For you.
Hooray. Chad, what did you get for your 1 year anniversary as a pastor at St. Peter's?
Probably nothing.
Me either.
Not index cards, that's for
anybody get
sure.
No, I didn't get those.
Did I miss out on like some special thing?
Yeah.
I don't
Darn.
know. I told people at church this week, and they all clapped.
Yeah.
Great.
Like-
Wow.
They didn't throw fruit, so I
Yeah.
felt
That's
like
good.
a
That's
successful
good.
year. yeah.
Although I would take the fruit. Thank you.
Thank you.
One thing off my grocery
I
list.
don't have to go grocery shopping anymore. Thank y'all. There are more
That
tomatoes.
was so nice.
Yeah.
I love tomatoes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we're glad that all of y'all could be here, and we're glad that y'all are listening to the Next Day podcast. We're going to talk about the sermons you got to hear on Sunday. So maybe you got to hear Christy in the Element, Preston in traditional service, or Carl at the West Campus. And we're going to be talking more about that. But before we do, we're going to do an icebreaker question. And I feel like this icebreaker actually ties into what we're going to be talking about. Because I'm going to ask y'all, what is a fear of yours?
Ooh.
What is a fear?
Wait, so hold on.
of yours.
I need parameters on this.
Yeah,
Are we
no
going like
doubt.
really dark or just like your
What are your
classic?
deepest, darkest fears?
Yeah.
I can't answer
I don't know.
that
Just
one.
what is something that you don't have to go too deep if you don't want. Like, what is
Okay.
something that does scare you?
This is my weird fear. Okay, I'm gonna go with a weird fear, and I think we talked about it on the podcast before. But I have trypophobia, which is fear of like this tiny patterns of holes, and it's
I
very.
think we talked about this
Yes.
because I remember you mentioning that before.
It's very specific. I think like if you were gonna take I'm looking at these headphones. Yeah, if you took this like cloth off on these headphones, it's like what a
little-
wasp's nest or like a lotus seed pod like looks like.
And that freaks you out.
So much.
What about a
like? It's not
sponge?
like
A sponge?
It's not like I like scream and cry and run away. Like not like that kind of thing. I can feel it like in my body, just like I tense up and I'm
real
like,
life revulsion.
oh, yes, a real, yeah. Like I just am repulsed by it, and
That's
like,
why God made therapists.
yeah. I've never had therapy for that.
Not for
yeah,
that.
not for that. I just kind of like my eye twinges a little bit.
Does this also happen when you're watching a movie and there's lots of plot holes and you're just like bothered by it?
I am bothered by plot holes, but not the same.
Okay.
I am.
Especially when there's that
Yeah.
many. Yeah, that's right. No, I would say my greatest fear is the Texas game every year because that means that we have to live with whatever the result is for that. And if we lose, then I hear about it for 364 days. So let me tell you, it's a real fear. I mean, fear with consequences.
It went away for a while, though, right?
It did go away for a while.
Wow,
Absolutely.
you lived a fearless life.
Fearless life. Isn't that amazing? Sounds like it sounds like the title of a good devotional book. Yeah, that's right.
So it really is like if UT
Oh, no.
and A&M.
Oh, yeah, no, it's a big deal.
Okay.
Like, I mean, there's a lot on the line. Like, we want to make sure that, like, we have a good year going ahead of us, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the groundhog, right? Does it see a shadow? Or
Oh, yeah.
That's
See,
right.
I never had to worry about
6
that
more
with.
months of depression. Yeah,
I never had to
anyway.
worry about that with SFA and Sam Houston games because Sam Houston was going to win every time.
That's just how
so
it
it
goes,
was just
right,
like,
yeah.
all right, we
Foregone
already know the
conclusion.
results.
Yeah, that's
all
right.
right,
That's right.
we're going to have a good year.
That's good.
Carl, any fears?
The impending heat death of the universe.
Wow. We were not going to go dark, Carl. I thought we made an agreement. I said trypophobia.
We did not preach on Revelation on Sunday, did we?
I didn't think that was very dark.
That's this
No.
Sunday.
Oh,
That's this Sunday.
We got Revelation this Sunday. Fantastic.
it was all that dark.
So it's a little
We're
Carl's
setting
foreshadowing
it up.
for
We're
us
setting
today.
it up.
Yeah,
It's, yeah.
I don't know why when you said that, I was just like, we're already in Houston. It's already pretty hot. I don't know what the difference is. Yesterday was like the hottest.
It's
Right.
the opposite. The heat death is when like all energy, like the whole universe, the idea is that like it's all created by some kind of energy, and eventually all that energy dissipates and it's gone, and all life cannot exist anymore
without heat.
heat.
What's
so
the
it's the
number
heat
you're
death.
Is that the sun burning out, right?
So it's not just the sun burning out. It's
Hello,
all.
Amy.
It's
Are
the,
you listening?
It's the whole entire universe, and so
Sable?
it's this whole idea that
Sable.
just there is this impending idea that nothing is coming for us. Now,
Carl, this is a different kind of podcast.
thankfully, I'm a Christian, and so I don't have to worry about that as much. But the whole concept of it is
it's
utterly chilling.
Okay, but like I get it. Like I would be the person that has the phobia of like giant, like seeing like the planets, giant planets like in the sky, or like anything like bigger than what, you know, if like the moon was like enormous.
So it's small holes in giant planets.
Yes, yeah.
Everything in between is fine.
There's a name for the giant thing, and I can't think what it is, but like it's a legit fear.
My
and
favorite phobia is triskaidekaphobia,
Oh, that's a fun name.
fear of the number 13.
I don't have
a lot
that.
of people have that.
Taylor Swift does
which
not
is
have that.
like legitimate. The number of hotels that I've stayed in my lifetime
The
that does
13th
not
floor,
have a
yeah.
13th floor, I'm like, this is not helping, right? I mean, like, it's just a number on. Anyway,
Have you
Taylor
heard?
Swift
started.
loves the number 13. It's like her favorite number.
There's the Mitch Hedberg joke was just like, yeah, y'all on the 14th floor, you know what floor you're on. Come on, you know.
But it's not called 13.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I guess it's
funny.
like-
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so hilarious.
Well, mine's now Carl's.
I wasn't freaked out till this podcast.
I had no fears.
I am.
I think everybody should come to church after that one.
Very scared.
It might be it. The end of the
Agreed.
world. That's right.
Scare him in here.
Get your backside into Jesus. There we go.
Can you tell what kind of church Carl grew up in?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
No, mine is. I think we probably talked about this before, but it is needles. Same as Chrissy has that too. But
I have a lot of fears, guys.
yeah,
Well, needles
Now-
make small holes.
Exactly. So I will donate blood.
Carl.
I will get shots and all that. But man, I will say it just freaks me out every time going up to it.
Just gotta close your eyes, look
And
away, you know?
I do, and people think I'm weird for looking away.
I don't
Like
think you're
people
weird.
really think like
I affirm that.
nurses
I've
and
asked
doctors.
the phlebotomist, and they're all like, it's a 50-50. 50% of people look away.
100%.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, there's
50%.
our yeah. I really had the last time I gave blood, I almost passed out. And I realized I need to take my mind off it because my mind's all about that, and I'm just like, oh gosh, and so
Well, today you talked about fears, and I thought, well, surely Christy would talk about almost falling off a ladder, which is what she preached on yesterday, right?
yeah.
So, like, you didn't even talk about that fear.
No.
Of falling off a ladder.
That
right?
was a one-time fear,
a
okay? It
one-time
was that
fear.
specific
Oh, okay.
ladder. But I mean, I will
Fantastic.
say, like I said, I'll go any height and I'll do anything in a harness. There was no harness on that ladder.
No, and then Carl, you're talking about your kids on a roller coaster.
So
Yep,
good.
That's right.
Yeah, and they weren't really that scared. I mean, maybe they were scared, but they wanted to do it again. And
Well, it was funny. Xandra, the one who I would have expected to be scared, perfectly fine. Wesley, death grip on the bars.
That's right.
The very last time we went on a roller coaster, he put his hands up finally, and
Okay.
Teddy just vice grip on my arm, like not letting go
Teddy,
no matter what.
Dad can't feel his arm. Teddy.
Last time I went on a roller coaster, and it wasn't even like a legit roller coaster. It was at SeaWorld. And so it was like,
Maybe
know,
it's
a
the same
water.
one.
This may have been the same
Maybe
roller
it was.
coaster.
Oh, was it the one where it like splashes you at the bottom?
We went on that one, but
Okay.
no, this was not that one. This was
Okay.
the kiddie roller coaster,
Oh,
designed for
no.
children.
No, this was like legit. Jesse wanted to go on it like a couple of times. Emmy was like too scared the first time, and then the second time she's like, I want to do it, but only if Mom does it. And I was like, okay,
gosh.
whatever, I'll go. And I've never had an issue with roller coasters or anything, but I forgot. It's been so long. I forgot what it feels like. And so I was just like, kind of like, oh, okay. A little like tummy flutter. And then it does the big drop. And I was like, it was crazy.
Welcome back.
I know. And let me tell y'all, like, one of my fears actually happened the other day. I sent the wrong email to the wrong person.
Oh, no. Were you
Now,
talking
luckily-
bad about the
No, it wasn't that. And luckily, it wasn't anything bad. And it's weird to even say it's a fear, but to say I do get a little bit of panic attack every time I send it. So we have our DS, his name is Elizabeth Duffin. I sent something to Heather Duffy.
Oh, no.
I just type in DUFF and I just send it. And I sent something to both Claire and Heather Duffy, which Heather was just like, why are you sending this to me, Chad? I was like, oh, no. Because she helped us out with UM Army all summer. And every time I sent her a text or I was calling, I always had to look at my phone several times going, am I sending it to the right Duff N or right Duff E? I don't know. So it kind of freaked me out when I got
You
an
felt
email.
like a real Duffus.
Yes.
I one time invited Robin Rodriguez, who is the assistant to the bishop, to one of our staff retreats instead of Robin Mercado.
That'd have been fun. Yeah, that'd been great.
She
yeah.
was like, I wish I could come.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really funny. Yeah, let's just invite the bishop's office.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Yeah, that'll be good.
You're welcome to come.
Well, we're talking about all this fear stuff because all fear is gone. We're not scared of any of this stuff anymore, right? And so, but we're in our sermon series, Because He Lives, all together now. Because He lives.
That was great, Chad. I was so proud. I just want to see if you would do it by yourself.
Oh, I will.
You will. For sure.
I'll go all day.
All the time.
But yeah, we're talking about the well-known hymn "Because He Lives," and we talked about last week how this is. And Preston, you shared how this is typically an Easter hymn, but really we sing it any time, as it is this beautiful song with these beautiful reminders of because He lives. Kind of what that means in our lives. And so we've been breaking down different parts of some of the lyrics in this hymn. And so this week we're talking about All Fear Is Gone. And so all three of y'all preached on it. Finally, we're all the
We're
sermons
all aligned. Yeah,
all
that's right.
lined up.
All one thing.
So I don't know who would like to get started on what did y'all talk about with All Fear Is Gone.
You know what? I think Preston should go first because he has a lunch soon.
I do
Oh, yeah.
have a lunch.
Because you have so many lunches
That's-
lately.
that's
So
right.
in case
Yeah.
you have to pop out early,
Yeah, that's right. Fantastic.
So if he's silenced later, we
we'll just say,
kick him
we'll
out.
make sure we say bye, Preston.
Chad edited me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, no, I think it was phenomenal to preach on fear. I mean, as we have great preachers in the church, so Carl brought up the number of times that it says, God is with you, or do not be afraid in the Bible, right? And we definitely have all of these moments. Christy talked about almost falling off a ladder, and that was the end of her life. Like, these are good. Like, these are all moments. And I think the thing is that we all, if you think about all of the things that are happening at the beginning of school, sometimes we as adults think, well, we've made it past these moments. The reality is we probably haven't made it past these moments, right? I made a point in the sermon yesterday that it always makes me laugh when God repeats himself over and over and over again, right? And so, like, that's my favorite part is like, okay, God, so you've told me 1,000 times, right, that you're with us, that we don't have to be afraid. Why did you tell me that so many times from Genesis to Revelation? Probably because we're not getting it. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so we're reminded. I mean, we use the kids every year when we come back to this moment, like, oh, they're scared. I remember when it was this scary. Well, life is still that scary, right? And so, I think it's a great thing for us to be reminded of in the fall, that it's not just our 7th graders or our 2nd graders or those first time kindergartners that you drop off and the terror on their faces as they're about ready to like walk into the world. But the reality is that, you know, and I think we all have those things, right?
Yeah.
We all have that fear moment in life. So it's good to talk about it, like get it out on the table and say, hey, I'm not done being scared, but I should be. So how do I fix that, and how do we make it happen? So we did do bubbles yesterday.
I loved the story.
I will say
It was my
yes.
first bubbles in church.
I think people would vote to say yes, more bubbles, because you kept so many people's attention. Now I don't know if they heard you.
No,
they
no,
were
no.
looking at the bubbles.
Actually, I think the tension was it floated away.
No,
And
I mean, I was watching the
like the
bubbles
Lawrence
as you were
Welk
talking,
show.
and it's sort of like, I mean, it really does illustrate the story. And, you know, I mean, I got a little teary-eyed. I know you
Of
guys are
course.
shocked.
Uh-huh.
But it was such a sweet story about the girl
Mm-hmm.
losing her mom, and then, like, you know, just the bubbles being this reminder of like, hey, like you're not alone, and like this isn't goodbye forever, and you don't have to be afraid of what comes next, you know.
Yeah, we still don't know who turned the bubbles on, right? That's what's my favorite part is that, you know, I mean, maybe Jesus flipped the switch. Just let her remind it on that day. You just never know. But I do think that as we approach life, right? How are we looking for those ways that we're reminded that God's with us, right? And that's, of course, that's the antidote to this, right? How are we not afraid? Like, what is it? What's the fundamental challenge? Like, what makes us afraid, right? When we feel like we're supposed to tackle this on our own. But yeah, it was good. That was a lot of fun. And we had the splash zone on the front, the front two rows. Like, I didn't realize it's 11. 9 o'clock, people spread out a little bit more, but at 10:30, like, they were all packed in together. And you're just like, I realized that the bubble machine was like directly in line with the people on the first two rows.
You're
I mean,
like, hey.
we're back to SeaWorld, right? We've already
Yeah.
referenced
Yeah,
SeaWorld
there you
today.
go.
I was like,
Splash
we should have
zone.
passed out ponchos, St. Peter's ponchos.
Well, my
on the front
favorite
row.
thing was that morning testing the bubble machine and to figure out which direction the bubbles needed to go, and realizing that they could not be on the altar because then
Right.
it made the floor, the stage, very slick.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
So we had to mop it up.
Washed as clean, white as snow.
That's
Well,
right.
I mean,
Wash.
we were calling for an aisle cleanup, and they came in with mops. I'm like, what aisle is the altar? Is it aisle 0? Right? That's right there in front of the altar. Like,
Yeah.
they're going to clean up on aisle 0. Yeah, that's
I
right.
will say it was cool that whenever you were really driving home that point of like, oh, we are not alone. God is with us. And then at that point you said, look, there's still one last bubble left,
Right.
and it's Jesus is still with us. And it really was. I don't know if
love
you just
that.
because I was noticing people up in the
He planned
balcony.
that.
People up in
I
the
did.
balcony
I
were
did.
just like there was like one little
One
girl.
eternal bubble.
She was just like fascinated by it. And she
Aw.
was
One
just
bubble.
looking at.
I mean, it was like 10, 11 minutes. I
Yeah.
mean, it was rolling. You know, I mean, it was amazing. The thing was still rolling. So,
Yeah.
There you go.
So
A
that was
miraculous
that's awesome,
bubble.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
That's awesome.
None of them came my way. I was disappointed.
That's right.
But yeah, so that was really good. What other things did y'all note on y'all's sermons?
Well, Carl?
So one of the other fears I have is being wrong, and I was very worried because I asked people, how many times does the Bible say do not be afraid? And a lot of people said 365 times. And I was like, oh no, this was on a Facebook post somewhere and I am wrong.
Oh no.
I had to go look it up after church.
And
How
you
many
were right.
times did you say?
So the
'Cause I
actual
saw your
terminology, do
spreadsheet.
not be afraid, it
Yeah.
is about 64 times. But there's other times where it equals up to like 102 times where they're basically
Right.
saying,
Right.
fear not or don't
Right.
be afraid,
Yeah.
stuff like that. It's
Right.
it's just over 100. It's not 365 whole times. But I was very worried, and from that moment on in the sermon, I'm like, oh no. And the whole time in the back of my head, you talk about all fear being gone. I'm like, I am wrong.
Oh no.
You misquoted the
Oh,
Bible.
no.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
my
misquoted the
gosh.
Bible
Yeah,
from
that's
the
right.
pulpit.
No,
Like,
no,
my
no.
whole sermon was built on this singular
Yeah, that's
point.
right.
It really wasn't. It was a throwaway line, and usually that's what gets me in trouble is throwaway
The throwaway
lines.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
guys, I got this on social media. I know it's true. Okay, my uncle said.
Yeah, that's-
You should have
yeah.
told them you're wrong.
Now,
Well, I did. That's the problem there. I did. I was like, well, I don't know about that, and then we tried to continue.
now, how many of those times do not be afraid is like dealing with an angel? Because anytime an angel appears, it's like,
yeah.
don't
So-
be afraid now.
So I made this whole spreadsheet, and there were a lot of times where it was angels.
Yeah.
In the Old Testament, it was like 20 times or so where it's God specifically saying it. Then you had different prophets saying it. And then you get in the New Testament. What was fascinating about the New Testament is the words "do not be afraid" don't show up at all in the epistles. It's like Like, I didn't see it at all in any of the letters. Just it like skips to Revelation, where you see "Do not be afraid." So we get to the end. We're gonna remind him one more time: "Don't be afraid." But I didn't see it in any of the epistles. It was in the Gospels, and then all over the Old Testament.
And Paul was in a hurry. He didn't have time to be afraid.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is that every time an angel does say it, I think they're saying it because they are so scary.
Yeah, right.
It's like, whoa, it's okay. It's okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.
It's a great reminder that the Bible is supernatural, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of times we try to make it about third grade Sunday school class, but the reality is no, it's a very supernatural book,
Yeah,
right?
this would freak out an adult and a third grader.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was like, why wouldn't they be afraid when they see Jesus walking on the water?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Of course you're going to be afraid. And it's like, why in the world is Jesus even walking on the water? That's not really explained incredibly well in that
all
moment.
the Gospels like kind of tell it differently. Like I love how in Mark it's like he was just going to walk right past him.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't even going to stop. And
Oh.
I'm like, what was the point?
Hey, guys. Oh.
Just taking a stroll.
Just taking a stroll.
Take my morning
Like,
walk
guys,
across the lake.
He was just like, I mean, but again, if you go back to like, knowing the context of like what had just happened in the story, it's like, maybe Jesus was like, I'm not ready to come back and rejoin the group, but
Yeah.
they just saw him out there. If I were Jesus and I'm processing this like really difficult information of John the Baptist dying and all of that, like,
But why didn't he just go out to the
beheaded,
water in the first place?
That's it.
I don't know.
Why don't you just run away from the crowds and just run across?
Yeah, he was just going for his stroll. If it feels nice on the feet,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I ended up looking up other areas in scripture where it talks about people walking on the water, and there's only like four different places. There's Genesis 1:2 where we hear about the Holy Spirit, God's Spirit hovering over the
Hovering,
waters.
right.
There's a piece in Psalms where it's talking about like God walked across the sea and did not leave any footprints, basically. There's a piece in Isaiah. I don't remember exactly what it said in my head, but I remember looking it up this week. And then there was a spot in Job, which just fascinated me because I think it's Job 9:8, and it depends on which version of the Bible you're reading. The NIV says he walked upon the waves, or he trampled upon the waves. But then if you read it in the NRSV, there's like a footnote, and it says like some Hebrew translations say like he walked upon the backs of sea monsters. And I'm like, well, that's cool.
That's a better, more fun story.
Right?
Yeah, that's
That
right.
is
Yeah.
fun. Oh my gosh.
Because
It's like
the
riding
book of Job's
dolphins
always
across
talking about the Leviathan and stuff like that, and so I was like, man, that's cool. But
Interesting.
when I heard Jesus walking on the water, like the only other person you see walking on water in Scripture is the God of the Old Testament, and so Jesus walking on the water, you're like,
right.
oh, this is Emmanuel.
Yeah.
This is another focus of God is with us, looking at the sea as being this. Area of chaos, really. People never know what's going to happen in the ocean, and
Right.
it's this metaphor for God is always with us, no matter what. Even if we're in uncharted territory, even when the waves are battering us, even when we're too far away from land to get there on our own, God is with us still.
And the world is always falling apart.
Yeah.
It's always challenging. It's always wavy. I mean, like I didn't throw into this sermon this time, but I mean, the waves are battering the side of the boat, right? So for Jesus to walk on the water, we're not walking on glass here. This is not a stroll on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Right. This is that Old Testament God that's walking on even the turbulent waters, right? So I always wonder the big waves, like, does he have, like when you walk on water, it's like in the middle of the wave. Like, are you jumping the wave? Like, how you riding up?
Is he riding it like
up
a
and-
skateboard in a half pipe
Is
or
it like
something?
is it like an
Surfing
escalator?
Jesus?
Are you
Yeah.
going up and down as you're going? So I always wondered that.
I had this stained glass picture at my last church, right near the altar, and Jesus looks like he's on a skateboard. He's like this, and I have no idea why he was like this.
It's 1960s when it was made.
Yeah.
1980s,
80s.
early 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Even better.
Yeah.
So
They-
skate
they-
park.
Yeah,
That's good.
they built that sanctuary in
He had tall
1981.
socks with little rings
Yeah.
on the top.
Yeah,
Basically,
love it.
I named all the Jesuses in that place. There was the Monty Python Jesus because it looked like he was holding a coconut instead of bread.
Oh,
That's amazing.
There were all kinds of different Jesuses I named. It was excellent.
I feel like you've got to know this.
Yeah. I love how Preston, you were saying, yeah, because the world is a crazy place. I was like, well, it's going to burn out soon. And
Yeah, that's
it's
right. All the
gonna-
meat's leaving.
yeah,
Yeah,
all
that's
the
right. We're all-
universe
we're
and
all
everything, as
back.
Carl says.
Oh my gosh.
But it's so interesting. Like this is, I do like. There's sometimes I struggle with when you read some of these miracles of Jesus and things that happen, and And, when you think about some of the different heresies mentioned, and when you talk about Gnosticism, where they believe Jesus is more of a spirit than he was a person, and that they believe that when he walked on the ground, he didn't leave footprints. And yet, so many times in the epistles, and you see Paul arguing this, and yet here's the story of him walking on water, and you just said, oh yeah, well, here's the Holy Spirit. The only other reference is the Holy Spirit hovering over and God walking on water, and so it's just like, well, geez, no wonder people thought that. So this is such a baffling story, but at the same time, the way y'all kind of explained it, because I know, Chrissy, you went into detail about, and Carl, you just mentioned now, is like anytime water is mentioned, anytime they're out in the boat,
right.
It's always this uncertainty. It's always this, because there's storms.
This is like Jewish literature does this, right? Like the sea is always chaotic, it's dangerous, like that's what it represents.
Bad.
Yeah, and it's bad. and it's never, when you think about it, it is rarely ever in scripture is the sea, like as the body of water, is it calm unless it's been calmed. You almost always see it as turbulent. And so like it's just, I mean, the thing about Matthew's gospel with this story is that intrigues me so much is that like this is represented not in the synoptics, like, which I also think is funny, like Luke leaves it out, but it's Matthew, Mark, and John that include this story, but Matthew's the only one that includes Peter walking. And when you think about like the context of when Matthew's gospel was believed to have been written and what's going on with the Christian early church at that time, to me, I mean, it really seems like Matthew's including this story of Peter stepping out in faith, because Peter's like one of these big agents of the gospel spreading, right? And so it's like Matthew telling this very small number of people. I did a little bit of math. I used ChatGPT to help me with this. I did a little math.
You could use a calculator?
No, I could not. This was exponential growth. I don't even know how to like do. I was like, tell me how many like, in theory, how many Christians were there in like 80, 90 AD? And it's like, it had gone from, it had gone from 0, which is around the time that Matthew's gospel is written, right? So like they believe 0, Christians prior, to 30 AD, right? To 5,300, right? So it's a really small number. And the Roman Empire is like, beginning like greater persecution of Christians. And so like this early church is scared. Like, I mean, they are living in, there's a lot of fear around like, claiming Christ.
Well, it's not even a church, it's a sect.
Right.
It's still thought of the sect as
the way.
Judaism.
Well, it's just
it's
just
even
like
have a
this,
name yet,
it's
just
a
the
movement.
way. Right.
Yeah, the way, right? So it's just like this movement. And, when you think about from the time that Matthew's gospel is written to the time that Constantine is the emperor, and finally, like, persecution begins to cease a bit, and then, picks up later. But like, it ceases during this like reign of Constantine because he's converted, right, to Christianity in 312. So it's like 200, ish years later, and there's 4 million Christians at this point. So like from 5,300 to 4 million, and like Matthew's gospel was written for that 5,300, like for the people.
And didn't you say it was like a 75,000%?
Yeah, like over
like
75,000% increase is the math I needed to do, because I was like, I don't even know how much this. And now like there's, I've asked Google, ChatGPT, I'm like, give me your like statistics on this. How many Christians, how many people are there that claim Christianity? Granted, like this is a number that it's, it's fluid, and also like, what do you think Christianity means? Like it's a tough number. But, Google will spit out 2.64 billion, right? So like you look at that 4 million from, Constantine, you look at that 5,300 and you realize like, okay, Matthew's writing to the people who he's like, this movement is not going to continue without you stepping out on that water like Peter, right? Like it's turbulent waters out there.
Well, and it started with one.
Great work.
Right.
I mean, like, because, I mean,
Exactly.
even Jesus was still asking, we did this a few weeks ago, or I did, he's still asking, like, who do you say that I am?
Exactly.
Right. And it's Peter that answers the question. So, like, we're leaning back to this man who is, well, I don't really know.
Right.
Like, so, I mean, at this point, does he, if you're putting stories together here, which we don't typically do, but you start putting gospels together here, you don't really know what I'm walking out onto, but he wanted to try.
Right. So it's, and that's what's so cool about the gospels, is that they, I said in my sermon, right? Like they're rarely ever a one-dimensional story, really. I mean, like I would venture to say never really a one-dimensional story. Because there's so much between the lines. Like you are going to hear, this, okay, this is what happened. We read about this miracle, and we can take that miracle and say, like, this happened, like Jesus is a divine figure. Jesus walked on water. Okay, like I don't need science to explain this to me. Like I'm going to take that. But also, like, what does that mean for us? It's not just that it happened, right? Like, how do we take, and that's what we do, right, in our sermons is we're like, how are you going to apply this? And one of my favorite things about this story is that Peter asked to be called. Peter, like, calls out to, it's not like Jesus, like, Peter, you come here. Peter's like, if it's you, Jesus, I want you to call me out there. And Jesus is like, yeah, come on, So it's like this crazy moment where like Peter's actually mirroring Jesus, like walking towards Jesus as they walk towards one another, and taking these steps. Preston, you talked about this, like walking in the footsteps of Jesus, right? On the water, being
Did you read
buoyant.
Footprints in the Sand?
I did. And he carried him when he fell.
It's a great one. It's a great one. He did carry him at one point, really, back in the boat. But it's this like amazing moment where you see this happen for Peter, and it just like, to me, I'm like, this is such a prominent place in Scripture, and I wonder how many times, or if ever, and when was the last time that we've asked Jesus to call us, that we've sought it out and said, instead of waiting, like, when are you going to call me? It's like, no, I want you to call me to something, call me, to go anywhere, to do anything. What is it that you want from me, Jesus? And so I challenge the element. I'm like, I know that the Holy Spirit is stirring something in you today, right now. Like, I know that there's something that you're in your gut, just kind of like, if you're listening, right? I feel that. Like, I feel like there is something there. And if you don't, then ask Jesus. Like, because there is a calling there. We all have it. And we saw that with the life of Peter, I mean, there was a calling there that took him places he never thought he'd go.
I mean, there's all these moments in the Bible. Is it God that comes and gets us, or is it us that go to God? And somewhere in the middle of that is our story, right? I mean, like sometimes God has to go pull Moses out of the desert, right? But then sometimes, like, Moses tries to take it in his own hands. That doesn't always work well. But I mean, like, somewhere in the middle, God's not always there telling us everything to do. And so, like, that is, I mean, it's a hard balance, but it's what God asks all of us to do. Because when is God the most mad? Is when we just stop, that we stop seeking. Right? That's when God gets the most pissed off, right?
Right,
I mean, it's not good. I mean, it's like, what are you doing over there, right?
Right.
So
right,
I think that's So like, how do we meet God somewhere in the midst of that?
And kind of like what you said too, about like that Jesus it wasn't a failure on Peter's part, like it wasn't like he failed, but what he did do was start to doubt. And Jesus is like, why did you doubt? And it's not, to me, I'm like, I don't think Jesus was like, what the heck, Peter? Like it's obviously like in the gracious and loving way that Jesus
he didn't let
does.
him go. No, you're done
right.
with you.
It's like, you're gonna,
I gotta love him more in the boat.
You're gonna sink, yeah. You're gonna sink at some points in your life, and Jesus is immediately, and I love that Matthew does this, and Mark does this too, but it's always like when Jesus does something, it's immediately he reaches out, right? Yep. And pulls Peter back up. But they don't like get in the boat, and he's like, you really disqualified yourself here. Like you're not worth it. Like they keep going, But I think like that is the question, coming back to fear, right? Like, do we, what does that look like to step out fearlessly? Because it's hard to read it in the story. It's like Peter does this really courageous thing. This is where I was talking about the ladder, right? That I like go up this ladder and I'm like, oh, I'm totally fine. I'm not afraid of heights. And then I get up there and I'm like, nope, totally afraid of heights without a harness.
Which I do want to. Do you harness yourself when you go on ladders often? I don't normally harness myself on a ladder. But
never. No. I wish you guys had seen this.
Hey,
ladder.
McKenna, hold the rope.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Belay for me, please. Yeah.
I love it.
But yeah, what does that look like to live fearlessly?
Yeah.
Bye, Preston. He's
Bye,
got to go
guys.
off to his
Yeah.
lunch now.
Alrighty.
Enjoy lunch.
He got bored with us.
Yeah, he's like mic drop.
All right, now we can really get down to it.
Let's get down to business. Okay.
Anyway. Yeah. Well, that was basically it. I think that Carl and I were talking this week in the office about fear and like, is fear actually gone, or do you go out? Do you step out despite fear? And I'm kind of, the latter, I think, is where I lean.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the day.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like Preston, he mentioned that, people are going to succeed and fail. Like, that's just a part of our life. We are going to do that, but it's just knowing that we just got to remember that Jesus is going to still be there. So as Peter is succeeding, and this is what I always find interesting with this story, is that he actually walks on water.
Right.
Right? Like, it doesn't say he just sunk immediately. He actually takes a couple of steps.
Right.
And I'm like, geez, like, Peter's doing awesome. And then, but he's succeeding and then he's failing.
Yeah.
But Jesus is still present in that moment, reaching out.
Right.
And so we just got to remember that we are going to be scared. We're going to have these fears, but we just need to know that God is still going to be there and is not absent. So it's kind of, does this tie into a little bit of last week's of like, don't worry and all that?
I think yes. Worry and fear obviously are very like closely related. I think they come from the same pool of emotion, but I think what you're saying, and I'm sure we all kind of landed there. I know Preston and I both did, was what you just said, right? That like you are gonna probably have times where you feel like you're sinking, but the thing that Peter did is he called out to Jesus and said, "Save me." And it's with this like confidence, right, that Jesus can and will, and immediately Jesus does. So it's like whether you're walking or you're sinking or wherever you are, know that Jesus is with you the whole time. I think it's interesting about Peter, in this story, and the way we see him, is that like, I'm trying to put myself, you kind of try to put yourself into the character. And I'm like, I think if I started walking on water, I think the first step would be kind of scary for me. And it didn't seem like it was for Peter. It seemed like he just got right out there and started walking. And it was like the steps as he kept going, he began to sink because he started to see the wind and the waves. And I know that, again, like this is figurative for, for what we would experience. You have that like moment of, yes, I believe. And it's like this mountaintop moment of Christianity. And then the world kind of comes in. And
I connected it a lot to like the parable of the sower in my head. And I think of, I think of the weed or the flower that ends up growing really fast, and then rocks, like the cares of the world like end up choking it out. And even as it grew really fast, it was in shallow soil or all that stuff.
No, it's in the thorns grow around it or weeds grow around it or something.
We know the Bible really well.
I just preached on this like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, because it had to do with gardening.
That's right. It had to do with gardening.
But it just like that popped in my head, just the idea of growing so fast, but and like being all in.
Right.
And I've seen it. Like you see people who are just all in, and like one thing just knocks them completely over.
Right.
And that's the rocky soil.
And I think about that like when I'm going to come back to the tragedy of the, Camp Mystic and the Hill Country floods, like I think for a lot of people that became a crisis of faith, and lots of things like this have been that way. That becomes this, like I'm strong in my faith until I can't explain why this happened. Like I don't know how this tragedy could have happened. How do we move forward? How do we respond? Right. Like when you start to get really, caught up in the, proverbial winds and waves and all of that, of life, that really causes you to start like sinking, right. Into, for a lot of people, like for me, I have have a strong faith. It didn't rock my faith, but I could see how somebody in the grief of an event like that begins to really sink down and just start to, you know, take your eyes off of the hope of Jesus, the promise of Jesus, you know? So, I mean, it's, I think there's
like, it just kind of goes back to like where people just think, oh yeah, well, our faith will protect us and everyone from any harm. And it's like, well, we live in a world where there is harm.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Like, we live in a broken world. It's all going to burn out at one point.
Jesus and all his buddies except one of them were killed.
Yeah.
right. I know. And there's this whole theory
so-
that John is still alive. Did you know that?
Ooh.
There's like I went
Like
down
today?
a rabbit hole. Yes, that people believe that John never died and is still around.
Is that
today.
kind of like Elijah coming back?
I
God.
don't,
It's
you know,
just-
I have not researched it too much, but like last I was preaching out of John. I can't remember when this was. It was not that long ago, and I was like, you know, what happened to John? So I look up and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this.
Was he like Elvis and he just went home?
Well, I mean, he was exiled, right?
yeah.
For
The island of Patmos.
Patmos, yeah, and that's where he wrote Revelation and all of that. But and eventually died there of old age is the legend. But there's also a whole legend that he never died, which is and it's so interesting because
Just
this
in a cave somewhere.
well, it's
guarding
tied
the
to
Holy
this.
Grail.
It's tied to the belief that it's not actually John, that it is Lazarus. There's a whole thing here.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. It's so intriguing. You know, it's
There's
all
a difference
like
between resurrection and resuscitation.
right. There's all it's all just like lore, you know, like it's not real.
It's
But
not canon.
yeah, don't
Fanfics.
don't take it. Yeah, don't take this. Everyone, all of our listeners, you can go down the big rabbit hole, but just know that's all it is.
Yeah.
Well, Pastor Chrissy said.
Yeah.
Oh no, but this was a really good discussion and really good sermon over this. All fear is gone. So next week we're going to be talking about because he lives. What?
Oh, he holds the future.
He holds the future.
Love
Okay.
the future.
Yeah.
You know what?
Which the
you know what happens
future.
in the future?
Everything going to go away.
We're
The
talking.
impending heat
We
death
are
of the
talking
universe,
about
yeah.
Revelation. Are you going to talk about this?
The impending heat death of the world?
Yeah. Are you going to talk about this in your sermon?
You know, it's not actually the impending heat death of the world that worries me. It's something that's bigger than me, probably, that I have no control over.
Oh,
is
you
probably
mean,
the
like,
underlying
life
worry
in general?
and the underlying fear, and just the idea that nothingness even
Oh,
can
yeah.
overtake me. And I have no control, not over just the stuff that happens, but even over nothing. It makes you really realize how small and insignificant your life is.
Yeah. No, I know. When you
Yeah.
see the like telescope thing, you know, when you like zoom out and it's like, this is, you know, it's like, this is your house and like your state and, you know, or city, state, you know, nation or whatever. And it just zooms out and out and out. And it's like in the galaxy and you're like, you're just somewhere in here. And that is like, it's not scary to me. Is that scary?
I
you?
believe Yakko Warner said it best. It's a great big universe, and we're all really puny. We're just tiny little specks about the size of Mickey Rooney.
Wow.
That's an Animaniacs line
Yeah,
for
I was gonna
anybody
say.
Yeah.
unfamiliar with 90s.
I-
The
cartoons.
wise words of Yakko.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I always love those memes where it shows like the whole galaxy and it says, "I am here worrying about," and it's like some very
Yes.
like stupid thing.
Yeah.
You're like, dang, in the grand scheme of the universe, this doesn't matter, but
We're all
it's
gonna
so
be dead
real
in
to me
100 years
now.
Anyway.
I
Yeah.
feel like we need to make some memes and include these in our sermon this week
Yeah.
of like the galaxy. You're here worrying about what you're gonna pack in your kid's lunchbox or
Yeah.
like or whatever.
What are they going to think if I didn't cut those grapes in half?
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, that is the end
That
of the
is
universe.
real, you know.
If you don't cut the crust off or something like
Right,
that, it's just
right.
the end.
To be fair, you know, we should care that every child has
We
a
should
lunch.
cut the grapes in half.
We should cut. Yeah, we should definitely do that. You know, prevent the choking hazard. I got these grapes the other day. They're literally the size of cherries, and I was like, "Oh, these
those
need to
big
be
giant
quartered."
ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so y'all could join us next week when we talk about What was it? Because
He
he
holds-
lives, he holds the future.
You even
Yeah.
sang it.
I know. He holds the future. There's so many good lyrics with that.
know.
But let's get to our ministry shout out. As the school year is here now, and maybe you, our listeners, and are looking for something to get plugged into, we want to highlight all our grow groups. So this is just kind of overall umbrella term of grow groups is all the different ways that, yes, show up to Sunday morning and be a part of a worship service. That is wonderful and great. But you know what? It's great to be a part of a grow group, which is actually allows you to talk and ask questions and have conversation and participate and like that. So
And get to know people. you
yeah,
know?
yeah. You build community. You get closer to
Yeah.
people in that way. And so there's lots of grow groups within St. Peter's. There's Sunday school classes, quite a few of those on both campuses. And you have life groups, right?
Yep.
And so I know y'all did a big push for just all sorts of things at West this last Sunday with a big potluck.
There's so much stuff going on. Yes, we had a big potluck, and then we mentioned the feeding of the 5,000. I was like,
How interesting.
You got to
Oh,
do that.
excellent.
Yeah. So all you had was fish and bread?
that's it.
All right.
Well, that's what we started with anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then they prayed really hard.
But so many ways to be a part of a grow group. I mean, so Wednesday nights are about to be kicked off on September 3rd. And there's lots of different Bible studies. If you do want to get plugged into a life group, you can reach out. What's the best way for them to get involved with a life group?
Carl, what's the best way? At West Campus?
At West Campus, reach out to me.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to talk with you about life groups and about grow groups. There's so many different opportunities to get connected over at West Campus and at the Kingsland campus right now.
And you can always just email info@stpkaty.org, and that will be distributed to whoever needs to know. So if it's Kingsland or West, that information will get where it needs to go.
Or you can even go to the website, and it's got plenty of different grow groups you can sign up for.
stpkaty.org.
Slash
Slash
grow.
events.
Slash
Grow, excuse me.
Or
Yeah.
you can get there through events
Yeah.
too, but /grow, you're gonna get to all. You can see the different
All
grow
the stuff.
groups, all the life groups, all of that stuff. So, we really, Carl and I are both teaching adult Bible studies on Wednesday nights. Chad will be teaching the students on Wednesday nights. We get to have dinner on both campuses,
Dinner!
and it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
We're
Dinner
pumped.
starts at
That's
5:30.
right.
Come and get it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we just had our first student life groups yesterday, and so that was really cool. That was at both campuses, starting over at West, also doing life groups with
And
students.
students at West seem to be having a great time.
Yeah,
awesome.
so 6th through 12th grade, and it's just an opportunity for them and here's just an example is it's just time for them to talk about faith and life together. And so I wouldn't say it's a Bible study, but it's a time to talk about life and faith together. And so lots of different things like that. So get connected to a grow group if you've not already. And still stay connected to the podcast here. Fun thing about the This Day podcast is at the end of, where are we? August 30th is we are finishing the Gospel of Luke. And we have been reading it since January.
Oh, wow.
Or listening to it and all that. So for everyone who's part of the This Day podcast listening, we've been going this whole time doing little segments at a time, doing the Gospel of Luke. We're going to
First
be...
half of Luke, anyway.
No, all of it. Oh, yeah. We're not doing Acts. Yeah. We'll do Acts at some point. That would be good. But then in September, we're going to go through Ruth.
I love
and go through all of
it.
Ruth, and then I don't know what we're doing after that. So
Awesome.
but yeah, so just be looking forward to that, and stay connected to us as we join us next week, really, as we talk about the next part of Because He Lives. What was it again?
Oh, now. He holds the future.
He holds the future. Okay, there we go.
Excellent.
All right, well, we will see you all next. We'll see you. You can hear us again next week on the Next Day podcast.
See you next time.
Yeah. See you next time.
Nailed it.
Bye, everybody.